Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today. We are gonna let people come in. While you are joining, please come into chat. Make sure that the drop down is set to everyone. And our question for getting started today is, since we're talking about scale, we were thinking about what is something that you've encountered recently where you were impressed by the size and the scale of it. So for me, my examples were I got to go to Zion this summer, and just the scale of the rocks was so awe-inspiring. It was amazing. And then seasonally, speaking of like county fairs and things like that, there was a news article about this 200-pound pumpkin that was being like very carefully transported to a big fair to be judged. So if you want to drop in chat something that the scale impressed you, something where you were like, whoa, so big, so amazing. I mean, we are tiny humans in a giant universe. It's nice to be humbled by the scale of something. So drop us in chat, tell us where you're coming from, and if there's something where you've been impressed by the scale of it. We're going to get started in just a minute. We're going to make sure that everybody has a chance to join. Make sure that your chat drop down is everyone. And tell us what institution you're coming from or organization. And if there is something that you've encountered that you are impressed by the scale of. Welcome. I'm going to keep repeating myself because we get some new people joining. We are asking you to share in the chat if there's something that you've been impressed by the scale of. So my examples were seeing the rocks at Zion were just huge, and it felt like I was on another planet. And then seasonally talking about things like this 200-pound pumpkin that was being transported through Florida recently for a fair. So is there something that the scale has just impressed you lately? Welcome, everyone. It's good to see some familiar names. Make sure that when you're using chat, that drop down says everyone so that everyone can say hi to you. I see some familiar names. Welcome. Please tell us where you're coming from and if there is something that you've been impressed by the scale of. And that could be something living, something in the world, some place you've traveled, a sculpture. For me, it was seeing the rocks at Zion were just so impressive, just the hugeness, the vastness. And then recently also hearing about, giant fruits and vegetables that are being transported for county fairs.
My son just learned the word exponentially. I think it came from this book we were reading with him. But he didn't exactly know how to use it, but he was talking about something being exponentially cool. And so the scale of that is just really, really massive. And for a 3-year-old, he's almost 4 now. It's
I love it.
a good scale of something.
Oh, we got some good answers. The redwoods. Oh, that's on my list. I really want to go see big trees. Hangars is where they keep spacecraft. Oh, that's cool. That would be really neat to see. The sand dunes at UAE. Oh yeah. Yeah. See, these are like big, vast, huge things. Exponentially huge. We love it. So if you're joining, we are asking you to share where you're coming from. And if you have any thing that you've encountered recently that the scale has really impressed you, the vastness, the bigness of something. Silicon Valley. Make sure that your drop down is set to everyone. It defaults to hosts and panelists. So sadly, chat defaults only to see us. We love to make sure that everyone can see all your great comments. The speed at which October is moving. Clever, very clever answer, and I agree. Well, we're going to kick this off. I know we've got some more people joining. Please continue to let us know where you're coming from in chat. We are going to go ahead and get started so that we can get through all this great content today. Today's webinar is the 4th in our series called Design Matters Live. In today's webinar, we are going big to help you close the gaps and bring the pieces together. We'll be talking about scaling course design, research on scale, and the 3 gaps that our tools can help you overcome. We'll be showing you what the research says and ways to implement these practical tips into your Canvas course. First, we're going to cover some housekeeping. So we are recording this and we will share it along with any of the useful links that we create today as an email in the next 2 days. If you've missed any webinar, all of our previous webinars are available on our video page. I'll drop that link in chat in just a second. I recommend catching the webinar on scaling with Boston College. There's a lot of also useful advice that they're sharing in their customer example that relates to what we're going to share today. And then also the really entertaining and amazingly fun to watch the transformations of the Extreme Makeover Canvas Course Edition webinar. We will be using the Q&A feature of Zoom today. If you have any specific product questions, support questions, curiosities about what we're showing, the different features we're talking about, please use the Q&A feature. That way we don't lose track of any of your questions, and we have time set aside at the end for addressing them. And anyone who's just joining, make sure that your chat, the drop-down where it says host and panelists, change that so that it says everyone, so that everyone can see your chat today. Now that we've covered recording, chat, and Q&A, allow me to introduce our presenters. Joining me from the Cidi Labs team today is Stephanie Tate, who is our contributor to our training and content development, Amanda Gonzalez Escuerdo, who is one of our customer success managers, and Clara Mance is one of our customer support specialists. I'm Kristen Powers, Director of Marketing and Customer Engagement. This is just a small fraction of our team who wants to help to make sure that you get the most of our products. We have some team members in chat. Please say hi, team members. And if this is your first time joining us, let me tell you a little bit more about Cidi Labs. Cidi Labs was founded out of a partnership with Utah State, where Kenneth Larson, who's one of our co-founders, was working as an instructional designer. He was given permission to hack Canvas. These are his story I get to retell. And he started making the first iteration of what would later become Design Plus, which is our flagship product. Over the years, our team has grown with educators, instructional designers, and former customers, shout out to Amanda, who are drawn to improving their learning experience for everyone. Oh, and now Stephanie also. We have 6 products for Canvas, from accessibility to course lifecycle management, and all of these tools have been developed in partnership with our customers and the universities we work with. Today, we're going to be showing off Design Plus, and you're in for a treat. We're going to give you a sneak peek at the forthcoming Ready Go updates. If you're curious about any of our products that we show today, please reach out for a demo so we can help you find the right tools for your needs. And as I mentioned, this is the 4th webinar in a new series of webinars. For the past few months, we've been sending out the Design Matters Digest, where we share research about how design impacts learning. In each digest, we offer a few practical tips to improve your own course designs. These webinars take that blog content and bring it to life with engaging discussion, examples, and live demos. October's digest is all about scaling course design, the best practices and how to get them in use for more and more people at your institution. So we're going to kick things off today with a poll. And the question is, what are the biggest challenges for scaling course design best practices at your institution? So let me get that launched for you. And there we go. So you can pick multiple. We did want you to have that option. So we're going to use some of this information to help guide our conversation today. And if there's something we didn't include that is a big issue for you or a challenge that we didn't capture, please put that in chat for us.
Change management popped up in the chat. Accessibility. We're going to talk a little bit today about some of the strategies for managing change or managing, that buy-in or pushback. So I'm seeing that pop up quite a bit. That'll be sort of woven in throughout the session today.
This is great. Well, I see a lot of these that I'm going to capture and we're going to come back to. So I'm going to end this poll. We've got more than 80% have responded. Thank you so much. This is really useful. So I'm going to end this and then share the results just so everyone can see, because I think this is really valuable for everyone to know in the community what this looks like. What are the challenges that your peers are facing? are they vastly different from yours? Maybe there's somebody who you're like, oh, maybe I can connect with them. They're doing something, I want to know how they're doing. So we love sharing customer stories because that's where we get the best ideas. And in that same vein, we have this idea that we wanted to create a resource to help gather what's been working at your institution. So I'm going to stop sharing this one. And we would love to gather from you and then share back out in the same email that we send out the recording. What are some scaling ideas that have worked for you that you are willing to share with others? It could be, hey, we do this design demo day where we, show off some of the best practices and we invite, people to come have lunch with us. Or it could just be something where you're like, whatever idea has worked for your institution, maybe you've got a practice, maybe you've got some specific process, maybe you have some ideas that you're testing. We're open to any of it. So if you can drop this in, I'm going to leave this up for a little while so you can answer this in your leisure. But we're going to keep moving on with the goals for the webinar today.
Yes. Thanks, Kristen. So if you've read the most recent digest, you got a sense for some of the research-backed tips for scaling course design best practices. And today, as we've mentioned, you'll see our tools, Ready, Go, and Design Plus in action, and how they can help you design for best practices and scale with speed and ease. Woo! Specifically, we're going to look at some of the research about scale-up initiatives, acknowledge 3 major barriers to scaling best practices, many of which you selected in that poll, and share strategies for overcoming those barriers. And so for each of those strategies, we'll also discuss the research behind quality implementation. And then we're going to do a live demo. I know the exciting part there, showcasing how our tools can streamline the process to help you walk away with a really practical tool set today. And of course, having fun is always a goal for us, so please join in that with us. We're going to start here. This quote reminds us why we're here today. The quote says, ultimately, it doesn't matter how great an educational idea or intervention is in principle. What really matters is how it manifests itself in the day-to-day work of people in schools. And this is true for course design best practices. No matter how great an idea might be for course design, it's the consideration of it and support for it becoming a true practice in Canvas course that leads to the learning impacts we're looking for, right? And you know this because you registered for this webinar to learn about how to scale best practices, how to move them from the world of great ideas to the world of consistent application across your institution. But I want to pause and acknowledge the elephant in the room here. You probably wouldn't have signed up for this webinar if that process of moving from idea to practice were easy or obvious. And hopefully you're sharing some good strategies in that poll, but we could cite plenty of research emphasizing how challenging change is. And a lot of you said that was your biggest issue in the chat, right? But really you all feel this daily. And so if the work is so challenging, and with institutions working to support a variety of important initiatives, I think it's really practical for us to be asking this today. Why worry about scaling course design best practices? Well, the research consistently shows that quality online course design and clear organization increases student motivation, learning, and retention. And what's more is that a baseline level of consistency across courses increases those benefits further, making scaling course design best practices a key lever for promoting learner success.
And it's not just about empowering learners, right? It's also about empowering instructors and instructional design teams when they exist, right? We know that sometimes it's really just the instructors doing all of this work. And I talk to institutions that use our Cidi Labs products all the time, and they often tell me that it's tools like Design Plus that are really the key to helping them support these large numbers of courses, the key to helping them scale. And so I'll frequently hear things like, I'm a one-woman show, or we're a small team of 2 or 3, maybe 5 people, and we're responsible for supporting all of the online courses at an institution, or we're responsible for supporting an entire school district. And so by using these scalable practices, these small teams can really stretch their impact. And so they're able to provide better support to more instructors, reach more students, and do all of that with what's really a limited amount of time and resources.
Absolutely, Amanda. So to summarize, there are significant opportunities to impact course design, productivity, and learner success by scaling course design best practices. And we hope that our tools will make seemingly impossible scaling efforts possible at your institution. So let's shift to the practical portion now. What are some of those common challenges that act as barriers for scaling course design best practices? Many of you noted a lot of these in the poll and then even adding into the chat. I'm sure you know them well, right? But research specifically points to course designers and instructors feeling limited in time, knowledge, skills, and the mental bandwidth needed to implement course design best practices. And here at Cidi Labs, we care about practical solutions. You heard Kristen describe how our products have been developed to tackle real challenges from institutions just like yours. So let's take on those common challenges to scaling course design best practices together today. We'll explore research-backed tips for addressing these three major challenges. One, a knowledge gap, such as how to translate evidence-based ideas into practical design. Two, a skill gap, or how to actually design those practices in Canvas. And three, a time gap, because I don't have to tell you that course designers and instructors are faced with limited time. And while the research and tips we're going to share today can be implemented in native Canvas, what we want to say is that we've got tools to streamline solutions and support user uptake at every phase of your scaling effort. So let's dive right into the first challenge, the knowledge gap. Understanding how to turn course quality standards or best practices into actually actionable course design isn't always intuitive. So what can we do about that for course designers and instructors? Here, research suggests that making abstract ideas more concrete can really boost uptake.
And I can speak a little bit about my experience as an instructional designer and how this idea of converting the abstract to the concrete really made my job so much easier. So a big part of my previous job was certifying courses for Quality Matters. And I see some of my former colleagues in chat, so you know all about this. But if anyone has seen the QM rubric before, you'll know that it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's very overwhelming. There's just a ton of information. And so what my previous institution did was they built a course template, and that was applied to all fully online courses. And so this template met many of the QM standards on its own, and then it also included really helpful guidance on how to meet the rest. And they also created internal guides that acted as supplements to the QM rubric. And those guides had information about how to meet the standards at my institution in particular, with these very specific examples of what we could be doing. And so having these sort of centrally gifted resources and templates meant that I didn't have to start from scratch. And instead, I could really just focus on the details and the final finishing touches that really made each of these courses unique. And so after I got a few certifications under my belt, I then worked with other instructional designers to create a showcase course. And what we did was that in this showcase course, we put a bunch of modules from QM certified courses, and then we could share these with instructors who had never gone through the quality process. And so I gave them something tangible to look at. And then instead of us talking to them about Quality Matters and the rubric and the standards and really overwhelming them, we could show them these real examples that made the whole process feel much more approachable to them. And we got a lot of more faculty buy-in that way.
Yeah, Amanda's experience captures a lot of what the research says can be done to convert the abstract to concrete. So let's take a look at how those things are lining up and explore the research-backed tips together. So what does the research suggest for converting abstract course design best practices into concrete practices in an actual Canvas course? First, checklists. We can employ checklists. Says here on the slide, right, that checklists break down entire complex processes, right? Complexity involved in something like the QM rubric, to better see what constitutes a high standard of practice. It gets defined there, right? Checklists can provide a shared language as well, and they can serve as a reflection tool. And I want to say this, I think checklists can get a bad rap in education because they can sometimes feel oversimplified or too prescriptive. And that can really reduce the impact or implementation benefits of using a checklist to convert that abstract to concrete. But I want to say this, you can reject a compliance-only checklist in implementation. Quick language adjustments can do wonders here, as we can really emphasize that the checklist is a tool for making the course design process more concrete, right? And in fact, one study described how using checklists to prompt critical conversations is akin to treating them as value levers or artifacts or processes that really pry open discussion about big topics and values. So if there is a little bit of pushback from looking at a checklist, remember that that conversation is now occurring. And so anyone who's seen that checklist now has a sense of what kind of practices might be considered best practices in a course. And that conversation at least gets started from there. So another way to make abstract best practices more concrete is to have actual concrete examples or models, which the research says have actually been shown to be more effective for promoting teacher learning, concept implementation, and student achievement than general principles. Think about it this way. Training that's only focused on general principles leaves all the cognitive work up to the instructors. However, providing concrete examples gives course designers and instructors a starting concept for how to apply the best practices in a particular course, much like the showcase that Amanda was just talking about. You can visualize it, you can see it, and suddenly you think, oh, I can do that in my course, or, oh, I would do this a little bit differently in my course, but now I have a starting place for understanding. So here's a list based on that research roundup of some of the opportunities for turning abstract best practices into concrete, actionable course design ideas. So the first, as we've mentioned, develop a simple checklist for all of the priority practices at your institution. And again, this doesn't have to feel heavy-handed. It can be, a suggestion, but if you're wanting someone to create a welcoming course, they might be thinking, how do I do that? What does it mean, a welcoming course? And so maybe an item on a checklist is to have a welcoming homepage. That's getting started because maybe someone didn't even realize they could have a homepage. I worked with many instructors when I was an instructional designer who their mind was blown when they realized it didn't just have to be the modules archive on the first moment that students enter the course. But take that a step further and say, include an instructor image or a welcome video. And now you're really defining something concrete, taking a welcoming course and making that concrete by saying you could add your instructor image, a little welcome message, maybe even a video, right? And that's now turning something into a much more concrete example. So the second one is designing templates and training courses that showcase best practices. Utilize those best practices in your training. Bake them right into your templates, right? Because that creates a showcase for your users. And the last one I love. So some of you were talking about buy-in or like change management. And the research really supports here. We didn't have it on the slides, but taking that deeper level here, consider employing experiential learning to support deeper best practice understanding. What do we mean by that? Well, if you're thinking about something like accessibility, it's really, really impactful for instructors and course designers to experience what it might be like to have URLs read to them that are not descriptive link text, right? Just these little ways to give someone an experience can increase that buy-in. All right, so you can figure out ways to do all of these things that we've just talked about with email communication or native Canvas, but really our tools can make this work so much easier, intuitive, and convenient, and dare I say fun. So we want to show you how you can first supercharge the checklist strategy with our forthcoming update to Ready Go. So Amanda is going to take over and give you all a sneak peek at some of Ready Go's amazing features.
Yes, I am so excited. We're going to give you a super exclusive, super amazing sneak peek at upcoming Ready Go. What I'm going to show you today is not available just yet, but there will be a link in chat coming your way so that if you love what you're seeing, which we hope you do, you can register your interest and get some more information. But this is going to be Ready Go super quick in a nutshell. So let's go. Ready Go is our course lifecycle management system. And this is what you use to help you scale best practices as you develop, prepare, and improve your Canvas courses. So whether you are getting ready for the start of a new term, maybe you're running some accessibility initiatives, maybe you're getting courses certified for quality, ReadyGo is going to give you the tools that you need to make sure that you're successful doing all of that. So you'll spend a lot of time in this courses table. And what you'll see here is first the title of all of your courses, so you know what you're working with. And then you have your statuses, and these are fully customizable so that you can track where each course stands in your workflow, right? So you have courses that are pending, you have courses that are ready, whatever your workflow is, you can see that in your statuses. Then we have alerts, which are my personal favorite part of ReadyGo. So alerts are where the things that are going to help you visualize what aspects of the course need attention. So you'll see all of these here, and any of these that are red means that there's an issue. There's something that needs to be addressed. So this course, for example, doesn't have modules. So you'll see that red, you'll know that it needs your attention, and the alert works as a hyperlink. So you can click on this and then immediately be redirected to that section of the course, in this case, your modules, so that you can start working on that. And these alerts are also customizable. So let's say that, for example, at your institution, a course is at risk of getting canceled if it has fewer than 10 students enrolled. You can go ahead and customize your alert for student enrollment so that if you have under 10 students, it's red. And then as soon as you hit those 10 that you need, it'll turn white. You know that this isn't something that you need to worry about anymore. Then we have our checklist, and we just learned all about this and how important this is. So checklists are here, also fully customizable. You can add all of the checklists that you need to a course. You can also assign a whole checklist or individual checklist items to specific people so that everybody knows what they're responsible for. And this is going to help you establish some structure, get the same sort of language so that everybody understands what needs to be done. And so if you have a semester readiness process that includes, for example, running You Do It, our accessibility tool, our Tidy Up, our course clutter removal tool, you can have those as part of your semester readiness checklist. And then as you complete these things, you can just check them off, save, you can see your progress in a course. Then we have our chats, and this is what's going to allow you to communicate with other members of your team or even with the instructors. You have all of this information there. And then there's just a ton of other stuff that you might need to know. So for example, we were talking about welcoming home pages. Maybe you need to know if a course is using a customized homepage. So in this course, it's just the syllabus. Maybe I need to go ahead and send a little chat message to the instructor to give them resources for establishing that welcoming homepage. And then there's other stuff like, of course, who is the instructor? If you've done a course copy, where that content has been copied from, you'll see that here. And then there's even an option to go ahead and view that course in Canvas so that you can work on it, make sure that everything that needs to get done is getting done. So that is, again, ReadyGo in a nutshell. There's so much that we're so excited about. So if you like what you saw, make sure to register your interest in that form and chat.
Oh yeah, I love a good sneak peek, right? Don't you? So I especially love how useful and customizable ReadyGo is and makes those checklists incredibly powerful and collaborative, which is just like a whole new level for utilizing that checklist idea from the research. Okay, so we're going to take a turn now into another tool, and we're going to be talking about designing with best practices, right? If we're talking about those showcases or maybe some training courses, etc. So let's see how Design Plus can not only help you implement best practices in really amazing ways, but how it can be used to convert the abstract to concrete for your designers and instructors. So I'm going to pop over into, this is kind of like a mock-up course design training. So maybe this were something that if you had like an instructional design team, they built this out for users at your institution or your instructors. And it can have a homepage that features a lot of the things that you might want to showcase. First of all, you just have this like you know, simple but beautiful and cohesive styling going on. That's just how Design Plus works, right? You add a Design Plus theme and you get all of these institution color branded elements come in with single selections. They're already colored, and a lot of other amazing features you can see with Design Plus. So that's a great place to start. But you can also add in elements that you think really highlight some of those best practices that you would want your instructors or course designers to be using as well. So for example, various and really helpful navigation support. So this is like our link grid, but we have a ton of other, we have like progress indicators, we have module lists, as you can see down here. These are all really easy. Again, like a single selection and then a little bit of updating just to customize if you want to change maybe the icons or change where these items are linking to. Really, really simple. So great. But again, you're showcasing that that's something that can be done. And your instructors who are enrolled in this course are like, I want to do that. Show me how I can get a link grid like that, right? Following down from there, just another example of a way you could maybe showcase best practices. We have our amazing columns and cards and other ways to kind of just change the visual layout or provide some additional emphasis here. And so I've employed this with objectives. Maybe you want to showcase that the objectives should be front and center in that course. If that were a priority practice for your institution, not only can we just make sure that the objectives are there and have a consistent icon or something that we're using at our institution, but we can also utilize these pre-styled cards to bring the visual attention to these items and say, these are the objectives for what you'll be doing in this course. Maybe you want to showcase getting started, right? A great way to assist learners from a homepage is giving them information about how to get started in the course. And that can include maybe a video that's floated, right? With Design Plus, this is easy, but again, you're providing that showcase example. Your instructors may want to do the same thing now that they've seen it in action. Another strategy you could employ to showcase best practices, I've utilized accordions here to kind of customize the learning process. Think of it like a personalized learning journey, because not everyone's entering with the same skill set or the same understanding. So you could say, oh, are you new to Canvas? Great, go ahead and start with our Canvas overview training in this course. Maybe it's an optional module, but if they need it, they can go there. And another way that you can do that, now you wouldn't want to double this up, right? We don't want to overwhelm anyone with our showcase of examples, but just think about, you know, what really works or what practices you want to emphasize. But this is our quick check feature, which is doing the same thing here. It's asking your learners in this course, your instructors in this scenario, which option best describes their experience, and they can select an option, check their answer, and they can get, again, customized links for their personalized learning journey. And these quick checks, again, come in just with a single selection. You just edit the text and the feedback, so you can customize this as much as you want. You can make sure that all of the answers are correct answers in a scenario like this. But then your instructors would say, what was that cool feature that I want to start using on some of my Canvas content pages to help my learners check their understanding, etc. And throughout your showcase, we say, hey, not only showcase those examples, but provide the connection point of how this is the best practice. So want to learn more opportunity. So I've done that here through what I'm calling this design tip. It's right here on the page in this call out. So it gives a visual emphasis like, hey, did you like those accordions used above? They help lower your learner's cognitive load. And this might engage your instructors to learn more or to explore these resources. And then I saw someone in the chat using a strategy that I love. So they are using pop-ups or like our dialogue boxes to do the same thing. So if at some point you wanted to, I would say on the homepage, maybe give a heads up throughout this course, you're going to see these pop-up options, select them to learn more. We do that down here. But again, you could say if you're inspired by this design, look for those little pop-ups, and you don't even have to take up visual real estate with those pop-ups. So another great way to use our tools to get after that same showcasing and then connecting for converting that abstract to concrete. Again, we're modeling here some more navigation, and at the end, modeling ways to consistently offer contact or question answering. We have our content shortcuts that allow you to just drop a button in to message an instructor. Super easy. All right. So I know we covered quite a bit. We're going to jump back to our slides now. Oh, I want to say this before I leave this page. Anything we're doing with Design Plus, right, already kind of has that, it has that accessibility built into it from the get-go, but it's a great way to showcase that you can do a lot of design with Design Plus without ever sacrificing accessibility. So let's pop it back over. Okay, so hopefully after seeing that, you feel ready to overcome some of that knowledge gap by providing your users concrete examples, checklists, and experiences, but you've still got to face the skill gap, right? Implementing even concrete examples like the ones we were just showing can still prove challenging, especially since doing so often requires that course designers and instructors have the know-how and tech skills to build those examples in their specific courses.
And a lot of us felt this skill gap very suddenly and very unexpectedly back when COVID first hit. I was in grad school in March of 2020. I was getting ready to TA my first course. I had gone through some pedagogy training. I was super excited. I was like, I got this. And then very quickly, I felt, oh, I don't got this, because I was ready to teach a course in person. And when it became clear that I was going to have to teach that same course online, it also became clear that I did not know how to do that. And in part, sure, that's because what works in person doesn't necessarily work online. But in large part, it was because I just didn't have the necessary skills. And so just to give you the most basic of examples, I knew that I had to provide lectures for my students, but I didn't know what kind of software I should be using to record myself. I didn't know how to edit the video so that they would look polished and so my students would actually want to watch them. I didn't know how to add captions so that my videos were accessible. And I didn't even know how to embed those videos into Canvas. I had to look that up. And so I really had to navigate, right, this gap between knowing what I should be doing, but really, really not knowing how I should be doing any of that.
Oh, yeah. I'm having my own flashbacks as well from my time in the classroom when the pandemic hit. Absolutely. So I want to say this, perhaps you're already offering trainings on best practices or instructional tools at your institution to try to support that kind of gap, right? Or maybe you have live support opportunities with instructional designers that help chip away at that skill gap. But we've got research-backed tips for closing that gap further and at scale. So the strategy here that we're going to lean on is to ease the implementation burden for course designers and instructors. So let's explore the research on easing the implementation burden together. First, we're going to talk just-in-time job-embedded learning opportunities. So these are learning experiences placed where and when needed. The research here says that these types of opportunities support instructors at the moment of need and allow for immediate practice. So great. As well as a more tailored experience, right? That's that personalized piece. Do I need this? I need this right now. So you want to think about maybe building a homepage. Say I want to include a welcome video, but I don't know, as Amanda said, how to record one or embed it with my content. Having the resources specific to my institution as well, right? Which software to use for my institution would certainly ease the implementation burden and make it much more likely that I overcome the skill gap rather than push the idea to the back burner for maybe some other time when I have more time to learn or go to an entire webinar or training. So a favorite quote from some of the research says, professional development needs to transform teacher learning from being just in case and instead creating just-in-time opportunities. And I loved this because I was thinking of my own experience, but how many of you have ever been to a training on something that was 6 months too early or 4 months too late, right? So this is a space where technology really shines, since providing support at every individual's moment of need, responding to their specific need is nearly impossible, right? Without some asynchronous support, resource, and guidance. Another research-backed way to ease the implementation burden is through templates. So research on templates reveal that templates make course building easier for instructors, and they specifically encourage adaptation of online learning best practices and reduce course building frustration. Note that second bullet point though, and I think a few of you have been talking about this either in the chat or on our original poll. Instructors do right, sometimes show resistance or lower satisfaction with templates if the templates are inflexible. We'll just little plug here, good thing Design Plus templates are almost infinitely flexible and customizable, but we'll see that in a minute. For broader implementation, so we're thinking of another opportunity here for really reducing that skill gap. For broader implementation of best practices, we want to position the best practices as the default. So templates, again, are a fabulous way to accomplish this. When you're thinking about designing templates, it may be tempting to only add maybe structured headings or take a very open-ended approach, especially when thinking about that research that was talking about inflexible templates that we just saw. However, research on choice architecture emphasizes the power of the default option. Providing a more filled-in template, within reason, of course, as the default is likely to increase uptake of the specific best practice when considering the principle of least effort. And I want to say this. It may feel simple for those of you at a more centrally managed institution, right? You're like, no problem. However, I want to acknowledge that some of you are at institutions where providing suggestions or robust defaults seems like it might backfire, right? Perhaps you thought, oh, nice idea, but that won't work for our institution. So I want to dig into this idea just for a sec for your sake. Admittedly, research does suggest that defaults are less effective when individuals don't trust the choice architect because the individuals believe the design was based on intentions that were differing from their own. And from my experience, this feels like a classic educator, administrator mistrust moment, right? And I've been there. So I want you to hear this. Defaults in a template are great because the instructors are not stuck with the decision. And you can market the templates with transparency, that they're designed to make it easier for instructors to utilize best practices in their course, but that the text or other elements are fully editable to be customized as needed by the instructor. So let's crystallize that research into some practical ways to ease the implementation burden when designing courses aligned with best practices. So the first, taking that just-in-time research, you can add support or micro-learning right where and when needed. We saw that in the showcase course, but what might that look like in, outside of that showcase course when instructors are actually building their courses? So that's where we want to add in that support. We can also design templates of varying sizes aligned with best practices. And by sizes, maybe it's like sizes and styles, right? To better suit that flexibility element and better suit the instructor's needs, whatever it might be. You don't have to have a one size, fits all kind of template. You can provide varying options, a little a la carte. You can also provide text suggestions as the default, as we mentioned in templates where relevant, because if someone has to go in and change it, yeah, it's a little bit of friction for them to go in and change it, but it's a lot less friction for someone who didn't know what to do when you said, consider adding a welcoming message here. They're like, what? If the default is sort of there and set, it's a lot easier. So that's just the start. Oh, I went a little too far. Let me head back for just a sec. Yeah. So we're talking about all these ways to ease the implementation burden, but we want to talk about here how Design Plus can make it possible for you to design for different user needs and preferences. Because some of those things we mentioned, like how do you add that just-in-time support inside Canvas? We've got ideas. Or how do I make templates of varying sizes and provide them without it being kind of cluttered all over the place in Canvas Commons? Again, we will show you. So it's easy to start with an approachable yet best practice pack template and then add additional design elements right inside the rich content editor with Design Plus. So Amanda's going to start there. Will you show us all the amazing ways institutions can provide template content to support best practice implementation?
Yes, my pleasure. Let me start sharing my screen. Templates are some of my favorite things in Design Plus, and I know that they're some of our customers' favorite things about Design Plus. So let's start with seeing templates of all sizes, and we'll start with a full page template. We'll use our handy search bar right here in our Add New Element tab, and we'll search for template content. And then we're going to see all the different templates that we have available to us, including the ones that our institution has created for us. So I'm just going to select this one, and this is going to provide a really good starting point for me so that I can go in and add all the information that I need to add. So for example, here I have this replace this banner using Design Plus. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's replace this image. So I'm just going to select it. And right here under change image, I'm going to select my primary images. And this is basically this a folder of images that my institution has curated for me. And I can see all of these and I can just select the one that I like. And this is going to make my job easier and faster because I don't have to go out and source that image myself. But it's also going to make it so that all courses have a similar look and feel that's going to be better for my students. And it's also going to add some institutional branding to all of these courses. So now that we have that, I'm just going to look through my template, figure out what else I want to add here. And you know what? I want to add another content block. So I'm just going to do that because my institution can also create, as well as these full page templates, these smaller pieces of content that I can add to my course. And so here, this is a content block that I can add to this existing template. It has all of these articles and videos that are going to be these really helpful resources for my students. And they are all already styled into tabs. So I didn't have to make sure that I was styling all this content to make sure that it wasn't too much, cognitive overload for my students. That was already done for me. And so we've gone from big full page template to medium content block. And now I want to show you a snippet. And this is one of, for me, the unsung heroes of the Design Plus sidebar. So when we look for a snippet, this is also this reusable content, but it comes in a very small scale. So a snippet can be a button. It can be something like a table. And so what I really like doing is creating these table snippets that already have headers. They have row and column scopes already set. So now the instructor doesn't have to worry about accessibility. They might not have all of the knowledge that they need to have about accessibility. I can just take care of that for them. And then they just need to go in and add the information that they need for their specific course. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is add a policy block. So what's really cool about policies is that you can add this information here for later missing work. I want my students to know what happens if they can't submit their work on time. But if you set up policies at the institutional level, you can then go in, make an edit. Maybe it's not going to be 10% deduction anymore. Maybe it's 5%. So you can make that change. And then when an instructor goes into a page that has that policy and they edit that page and save it, that's going to sort of call back to that original policy and apply any changes that you have made. So you're able to ensure that your policies are kept up to date and that everybody has the same kind of policy. And Stephanie told us about the importance of shared language. So everybody's going to know exactly what these policies are. My students know what to expect in all of their courses. So policies can be these really powerful tools. And then a few other things that are template adjacent, right? They're not necessarily templates, but they're very helpful, are icon categories. So icons you can organize into their different categories, and then you can make sure that you are using the same type of icon for the same type of content. And then that way you're going to establish some visual cohesion. It's also going to be a consistent navigation experience for your students. Every time your students see a check mark, they're going to know that that's an objective. So it's going to help them navigate the course. The other thing that we can do is apply or change a theme. So Stephanie mentioned that sometimes if instructors feel like a template doesn't have enough flexibility, like it can't really be customized, they might resist it. And so maybe I'm coming into this template and it's a beautiful style, but it's not my style. And maybe I want to change it. And I've always had a soft spot in my heart for flat sections too. I love flat sections too. I love the colors. I love the style. It's very minimal. It's very clean. And so just with a push of a button, I was able to restyle this template, keep all of this content that was so important to me, but now this feels like a better fit for my particular course. And then another thing that I can do is go into my advanced elements, go into my style editor, and I can set up all of these different quick styles that are going to help me very quickly apply a style, very good name, to any of these specific elements. So that is how we can sort of jumpstart our template process, right? We have these institutional templates, we have these quick styles that can be created by the institution, it can be created by us as well. But let's say that your institution just doesn't have the bandwidth to give you templates. Or maybe they do and they give you some templates, right? We see a lot of institutions that will provide syllabi, they'll provide home pages, they'll provide objectives, content blocks, right? Those are very popular. But maybe you need a very specific type of template because you always use the same kind of assignment, or you need a module overview, whatever it may be. So you can create your own templates, and you do that through what we call course level customizations pages, and there will be a link in chat. And so those are going to be the pages that you'll use to create all of the content that you'll then be able to reuse throughout your course. The most amazing thing about these course level customizations pages is that they give you access to the magical, the amazing, the extraordinary Design Plus library. And so with the library, you can search through all of these different, in this example, content blocks, but we have all these different types of content that the Cidi Labs community has created. And so these are our customers, these are Cidi Labs employees, and any of these that you really enjoy and that you want to use for your courses, you can just go in, select it. It's going to add it here. It's going to automatically come in with your institutional branding colors. And then this is something that you can edit. So if there are different things that you need to change here, you can do that very easily, have it as a template, and then reuse it throughout your course. But if you don't have time for that, that's fine. We understand, no worries. We have also put in a bunch of content into the sidebar itself that's going to work as a starting point for you. So for example, here in our content blocks, all these different ones that have the Cidi Labs logo, these are things that we have created for you. And you can just browse through all of these different ones, find the one that you need, select it, and then you change the image, you change the text, you do whatever it is that you need to do to make this work for you and for your specific context. So we're just going to come back here. We're going to save the page so that we can see what we created. And so here we have this beautiful page that didn't take us too long because we already had all of these different templates that we could add. And as I mentioned, those tabs or that assignment help, that was already styled into tabs. So I didn't even need to do that. Maybe I don't know how to do that. No worries, it was done for me. So again, thinking about templates, scaling, and also the skill gap, because again, maybe we didn't know how to do those tabs on our own.
Absolutely. And, you might have caught that at the beginning when Amanda hopped into the rich content editor, there was some instructions in a box. Amanda didn't need those instructions. She's a pro. But we put them in there because they were an example of action items. So you don't see anything on this page right now. But if we were to head into edit, then we can see that there were action items at the very bottom. Maybe. We had there they are. This whole chunk of information was secretly hidden in edit. And we had, I just want to mention in the chat that sometimes providing some information to your instructors in a template can be problematic because they forget to delete it. Enter action items, secret information that only editors can see, but when we save, it's no longer visible. And so your learners will never see it if someone forgets to delete it. Amazing. I'll give you a quick little tour of that, but honestly, we have a webinar that we did with UTA where they gave an absolute masterclass in how to use action items with your templates. But I wanted to add this in here because some of you, maybe your institution, it might not work that well to provide that default sample text that we talked about. So I think we had a little splitting hairs between suggestions and samples. What the research is suggesting is just putting that sample text in there. And if someone wants to customize it, they can. And if they don't want to customize it, it's already great and ready to go for them. But say, that won't work that well at your institution, you can use action items to turn something into a suggestion that requires someone select it. But let's see action items real quick. Maybe we've got this template, it's looking good, but we have this bracketed information that we're worried someone's going to forget to fill out or adjust, right? You could, fill it in yourself. But you can also turn these into action items. So if we were inside our sidebar and we were looking at action items, we have everything from a checklist. We love a checklist to suggestions, insertions, so many great things. So here I can take this your name where someone's supposed to be inputting some information, and I can turn it into an input field. And now the user can actually select into that, and they would type in the sidebar if they wanted to, and it becomes part of their action items, essentially their to-do list on the page with the template. Similarly here, we could tell them to add a brief personal bio to introduce themselves. Maybe we're worried that they won't do that and we don't want that visible, right? Then we can just turn this into a note that just says, hey, go ahead and do that here if you want. And I did see someone mention leaving some space. You could leave some room for someone to go ahead and do that, or that they can just type in here. Similarly, you can even turn certain text into a suggestion. So maybe you don't know if someone will check their messages daily and respond within 1 to 2 school days. You put that in there because maybe it's a great best practice that your institution wants to be utilizing, but you're not feeling so confident that that might ruffle some feathers or something, right? You can change that to a suggestion. And now the user, if they were in this template and they were editing, they could choose right here to accept that suggestion. All of that coding is removed around it, and that template is ready to go. So action items, super, super powerful, but we're going to go ahead and hop out and go back to our slides because we've got some ground to still cover. And fittingly enough, as we are hitting on our own time limit here, we're talking about the time gap, our last challenge that so many of you know and feel every day. So let's go ahead and see what can we do to help with the time gap. So to tackle the time gap, we'll focus on a classic work smarter, not harder style, and discuss research-backed tips to help you do the design work once and duplicate. But to be able to leverage duplication, we need to have some baseline course organization and consistency. So let's think about, what does the research say about course consistency? First, the research reveals that learners actually show a preference for consistently organized courses and for baseline consistency across courses. That doesn't mean every single page is exactly the same over and over again, or that every course is exactly the same. Even Amanda gave the example, different instructors could have different themes, and yet the navigation of the course would remain exactly the same. So consistency both in and across courses, as you can see in that second bullet point, has also been linked with student success outcomes. So it's not just a preference, it's actually linked to success. And what's great is that consistent design also reduces the workload for instructors. So the benefits are plenty for consistent design, right? So what are some of the practical strategies for designing once and then duplicating in your Canvas courses? One would be using evergreen text content. As often as possible, take out that burden on yourself that you have to go in and change every single time, maybe a new term or a new moment when you're using that template. I would tell instructors that I was working with, if your discussions are always due on Tuesday, don't put Tuesday, September 27th, just put Tuesday, because then you don't have to update that later, right? You can templatize elements that you already use. And so because we have course level customizations, or institutions can easily take chunks that they've already built, turn them into snippets, you can essentially templatize almost anything that you find yourself doing again and again for courses, or suggesting again and again. And then you can also duplicate module structure and then customize along the way. It's way easier to make small changes than it is to build from scratch every time.
And templatizing and duplicating are super necessary because we've seen how more and more courses are going online, because that's what today's learners need. But we're also seeing that instructional design teams are not getting any bigger. And also the fact that more and more instructors are now part-time. So nearly half of faculty in the US are part-time lecturers. And so if you've got 5 other courses that you're teaching, or you have another job, or maybe you're balancing research and teaching, you need to be able to have all these strategies and all these different tools, because it is just not feasible to expect that you can create these amazing courses completely from scratch every single time. So these strategies are there to help you work more efficiently.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see how Design Plus can shrink the time gap and help users design once and duplicate in seconds. We're going to head over and give you a quick tour of our multi-tool, but specifically looking at the module builder. You can enable the multi-tool in your course navigation if you have Design Plus. And selecting the module builder will not only give you access to a way to really rapidly make changes, maybe you just need to implement consistency, maybe like a consistent naming convention in your courses. You can do so. You can open a current module and you can drag and drop items around, or you can change, maybe this is supposed to be a group discussion instead of just a discussion. You can make those changes and update that module right there inside the module builder. One of my favorite features, you know, when you're removing an entire module, but it leaves all the contents behind and now you just have a bunch of course clutter. Look at this delete module and contents button. I'm sorry, but that's an absolute game changer when you're restructuring a course. But that's not why we brought you in here. We brought you in here to show you the module builder, because if you do it once, you can duplicate with the module builder. So the module builder allows you to determine a base pattern and then say how many times you want that pattern to occur in the course. So say you want 16 modules because you have a 16-week course. And so you could say my module prefix, maybe I call my modules weeks. I go by weeks, or maybe I go by chapters, right? You have all those prefix options listed here. You could say I want 16 modules and I want it to start with module 1. So I want the naming that goes into my modules to say module 1 and then go from there. So these are the prefix that will be assigned to every item. So say my modules always start with kind of an overview page. So I can select a page, title it overview, and then I can choose, do I already have a template? Do I have an existing item that I'll just use as my template, right? If I don't have time to build brand new templates, I can templatize anything I already have. So I can say, let's do it with the module 1 overview. From there, maybe I have a content page. So it's like a chapter focus. And then maybe I have an assignment where the learners do a current event every week. And then maybe I have a discussion. And maybe I do group discussions, you know, whatever it might be. So I can title these and it's going to say week 1 overview, week 1 current event. And again, I can be changing points. I could be changing submission type. I could be changing the particular item I want to be the template that shows up there over and over again. Maybe I have a wrap-up page for that particular module. And then I say, you know what? I did it once. I assigned the templates I want, all the pages or the point numbers, and I want 16 of those, please. And so great, the module builder gave you 16 of that exact consistent structure. But you say, oh, I totally forgot week 7. We don't do that group discussion. It's a short week. No problem. Just go ahead and remove that one, make all of your changes. And then when you're ready with all of your customization, you can just add those modules to your course in a blink. Okay, so hopefully our module builder will allow you to do it once and duplicate. And hopefully the rest of the tools will help you scale course design best practices to an extent you never thought possible. You saw Ready Go and Design Plus, which can effectively and efficiently convert the abstract to concrete, ease the implementation burden, and help you do it once and duplicate. And now we are running super low on time. So Kristen, do you want to power through our connections and we'll tackle questions, or what do you think?
I think we should just jump to Q&A. We have a lot of the same stuff that if anyone's joined our webinars, we have lots of webinars. I'll drop some links in, but let's just jump to Q&A.
Okay.
One of the questions was, can you provide examples on how templates and checklists navigated their way through faculty governance and academic freedom? I think we saw a lot in some of the feedback that the questions around faculty desire for independence, academic freedom, faculty pushback, those are some things that we heard. And just like, what does that look like even in any of your experiences to get something that's a template or a checklist like through that process?
Absolutely. So a couple thoughts here. One is that when you send out the follow-up for this webinar, Kristen, several of the studies are like institution specific, and it is their story of, and while they have data that they returned, right, it was their story of how they did it, and it includes stories of the pushback and all of that. We also have a Slack customer community, and so I think that's like a beautiful question that could be tossed into the customer community to hear real stories from our institutions. I did mention, right, that the language matters, and so obviously if you're using your checklist, maybe you build one, and it can absolutely be used for some kind of like, I guess, auditing process. But really, if you're just building the checklist as a resource, it's a reflective tool. It's a resource. It's an idea generator. It's a conversation starter. It usually functions a little bit below some of that concern about academic freedom. comes as a little less heavy-handed. And that's not disingenuous. That's true. We want it to be a reflective tool. We want it to be a conversation starter. We want it to be a connection between maybe the instructional design team and the instructors, right? And so that is one way to navigate it, but certainly like the actual how do you do the politics at a particular institution is really individual.
But I like the idea of thinking of it as a conversation. I think that's an approach we can all agree on, right?
Yeah.
Someone asked in the chat, will I share the slides? Absolutely. Please use this research to better your own work. We will happily share the slides in the email with the recording. And then we had a question, I think at the very beginning, Stephanie, you were showing something that was your personalized learning path, an item, but I think it might have been a quick check. I'm not certain.
Yes, it was a quick check.
It was a quick check. All right. I have you very small on my screen, so someone saw it better than me and called it. Thank you, Michelle. Can you just show that again for us?
Jump back if I had added one of my progress indicators around here. Okay. Just a little plug. Yes, here's the quick check. I titled it, instead of it saying quick check, your personalized learning path. So again, you control the language at your institution. You make this sound however it needs to sound for it to be happy with your instructors, your institution, etc.
That is awesome. There was a question about balancing, when it comes to templates, how do you balance how they are, sorry, there's some words. There is an increasing amount of faculty/courses that are using resources/integrations from textbook publishers and other third-party entities. The content is not native to the LMS. I think.
I mean, it's hard to say, like, you can't know exactly how every textbook's going to integrate, but
Yeah.
I will say that this is a beautiful way that you can use Design Plus. We also have the ability to have like sub-accounts have their own sets of templates, or you can design templates into categories that you say. So maybe you have an entire department that's using a particular textbook, and so your templates need to be designed with that consideration involved. You can do that either through categories or by having a separate sub-account if that's already set up, if your department or whatever it might be is already in that sub-account. You can have the templates be customized to those users, which is just so amazing.
So many levels for customizing.
Amanda, am I missing anything on that you'd want to add?
No, just the fact that we also have the embed tool, so you can also just create a template and then leave that space for embedding all of those textbook materials so that they work hand in hand, right? And it's not about either the textbook material or the institutional content. You can have both of them working together.
Yeah,
we love that. All the pieces coming together.
We have templates to the rescue as our next webinar. That's my last plug. So
yeah. I just dropped a link to sign up, and we are very, very grateful that you all could join us today. I will be sending out an email with all the resources in the next few days, including the links. We are appreciative for all your great questions, and thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.